Hello, everybody. Hope you're welcome to this. Of course, you are. You can come in, you can take a seat, you can sit down. You're going to listen to us talking music for the next 30, 40 minutes or so. I'm going to be joined today by the wonderful Peyton Shay, all the
Hi,
way from
thanks
the
for having me.
USA. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. Firstly, though, we're going to play a little video for you. If you haven't seen this before, I'd be surprised. But here it is in its wonderful pink and black Technicolor. It's a little message from Analog Trash. And why it's not playing, I don't know. Oh, my goodness. Technology, hey, sometimes it just lets you down. Long time ago, before you were born, Peyton, when we used to do radio back in the good old days, we didn't have buttons that you pressed on the computer. We had carts. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, back in the good old days of radio, we actually still had record players, of which I do have one here because it's important to have a record player on your desk. I do believe.
Yeah.
But we had record players, we had CD players, and then we had carts, and all adverts were on these things that looked a bit like this, like a cart. You know, it was a rectangle thing like this, and you used to have to shove them in these holes in this cart machine, and then literally press buttons to fire them off.
What? That's insane.
Yeah.
Technology. Wow.
Technology has moved on so much that, I mean, you've done radio interviews, right?
Yes.
And if you've been to a radio station these days, everything's a computer, and all the music's on the computer, all of the adverts are on the computer, whatever. And someone sits there and it literally just goes, and then they bring up a mic to talk to you, and that is it. No. Back in the day, you used to have a massive, great desk, probably about 128 channels. Everything had to be mixed in together. It was hectic stuff. There you go.
Wow.
That's just giving you like a little glimpse into the history of radio.
Yeah, no, thank you. Wow, I did not know that, but cool to see like the advancement.
It's definitely there. When did you first start making music?
So I first started when I released my first song at 12 years old. But I got into
so young, isn't it?
Yeah, so young. But I got into it through musical theater a few years prior. So I did Les Mis, because I was in kind of like the acting, and I decided one day to try out musical theater, which mixed obviously like both music and acting. And I fell in love with like the music portion of it, of course. It's such like an amazing play, Les Mis.
So you were doing Les Mis when you were 10?
Yeah, I would have been about 10 years old.
Wowzers. I mean, let's be honest about this. Les Mis, which is one of the best musicals, right?
Yeah.
But that's quite technically challenging for a young singer, right?
Definitely. And it's such like a dynamic like plot, and it's like, for 10-year-olds and 9, there's like people younger than me as well. I don't think we fully grasped what the whole plot and meaning of it was. But as you get older, you're like, wow, it's such an amazing, like, it's so amazingly like written. But yeah, so I kind of fell in love with music, and then I wrote like my first song like in the guest house of my family home.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because I got a keyboard for scales for Les Mis, like to warm up before I would go to rehearsal. And yeah, I didn't really know how to play keyboard, but I figured it out, and yeah, so I wrote my first song there.
So I'm assuming that someone else in the family was quite musical, because otherwise,
That's what I always like would think, but surprisingly, yeah, no one in my like
wow.
immediate family is musical. I had one, I think it was probably like a great aunt or something who's at Juilliard. So it's kind of in the line, but it's not like immediate right here. So
Okay, you'd love to do one of those programs when you get really famous, which you will do.
yes.
Where you're allowed to sort of go back and explore your family history and see where it really, how far back it comes from and who was, because it's brilliant when they do that, isn't it?
Wow, yeah, like a little family tree.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be so down to do that.
Andrew Lloyd Webber, Andrew Lloyd Webber,
Yes.
who obviously wrote Cats and everything else. He did one of those recently, and it was fascinating because he discovered that a long time ago in his family there was somebody else who was a master composer who composed these
What?
what would have been West End type plays many moons ago. And get this as well, this is fascinating, he also had a brother who was a famous cello player at the time, just like Andrew Lloyd Webber's brother Julian.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like it skipped like something like 10 generations, and then it came back out again. Amazing.
That's so insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, no, I would love to do that. I think, isn't it like a show, right?
Yeah, it's called Who Do You Think You Are? And then it allows them to go back and discover their history on both sides. It's just
wow.
That'd be brilliant.
Literally.
That would be brilliant.
It'd be
So
really, really cool.
you were writing songs at 12.
Yes.
What sort of things were you writing about at 12?
My middle school breakups.
You had middle school breakups?
Yes, I had one, and it was heart-wrenching. No, I'm kidding. But it's always fun to like look back because I have like all of like my original diaries and everything. I wrote my first song on the back of a homework assignment because I didn't have my diary or like my little like notebook right there. But it's so funny to like look back and just like read the hundreds of pages of just like absolute just chaos. Especially because the first song that I like wrote, obviously I didn't really know like song structure and all of that, but it kind of made it like 1,000 times better because there was no like structure, there was no like, fitting inside a box, which was cool, looking back now because now I'm like, okay, you're really thinking through stuff. But yeah, it could have been anything. It could have been middle school breakups, could have been a bad day at school. Literally, it's funny, but yeah. And so then from there, obviously, it progressed when.
But you know what you say? We joke about it, but actually, those younger day breakups and whatever, and forming relationships, falling out, it really hurts at the time because you don't really understand that it's like that there's going to be someone else and you're going to get on, and actually when you look back at it, this is all a bit silly really, but actually at the time it's like, oh my goodness, this is intense.
Right. And I think too, like because when you're that young, obviously you don't know anything about like relationships and all of that, and yeah, so it just like amplifies it by like 100. But yeah, it is funny.
I'm never going to meet anyone again, ever. And this is the end of my life, and I'm only 12.
Yeah, literally, that was me when we broke up by the lockers. And I was like, wow, this is it. I'm over.
I mean, this is the thing, right? In the UK, we watch all of those programs about school in America and whatever, and there's always those scenes by the lockers. We don't have that in the UK.
Oh, you don't?
No. Okay. You see, kids don't have lockers. We always had pegs.
Oh.
Yeah, we just had like, it was literally just like there'd be some cloak rooms, and they would have like these things that stood up with like rows of pegs, and that's it. And you would hang your bags on those or whatever. Anybody could just go in and they literally did. time and time again, people would move your PE kit and put it on someone else's peg, and you'd get lost, and then you'd have to go home and explain to your mum. Yeah.
No,
This
we
whole
had it
locker thing.
easy.
Yeah,
we had the lockers, and you could like decorate it. The hardest part about the lockers was like figuring out how to open them when they had all those like combinations. You're like, how do I do this? What's my combination? But yeah, we were lucky to have lockers.
Did anyone ever jump out from behind a locker to surprise you? I mean, because that always happens in these programs. You know, there's that scene where someone does the door, and it's like, what are you doing there?
I mean, I'm sure we put like one of our friends in a locker, but there's not like, I don't think
they had the letters and stuff on the inside as well, with like
the mirror, the letters. You had the little whiteboard that you never even touched. Had it all.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, some people would even do like chandeliers, like these like mini locker chandeliers.
And what about, I mean, you obviously knew that you had a voice at a very young age because of doing Les Mis and stuff like that. But did you, from kind of one singer to another, not that I put myself in the same kind of class or category as yourself, because you've got a fantastic voice, but did you ever, was there a struggle to find your voice as well?
Yeah, there was a huge struggle. Because I originally went obviously like into acting, so I knew like immediately from like when I was young. I was lucky enough to like know that entertainment was like my place, my path. But I spent, my middle school and my high school, I grew up in like a smaller town, but it was still like right outside of LA. So we only had one public high school, and so middle school through high schoolers, everyone went to the same like public high school. And during that time, everyone's just trying to like fit in, or just kind of keep their head down and do what their peers are doing. And I was releasing songs and all of that, and so it became a really big target, at least for like my grade, on just like music in general. Like if I was like in a classroom, a teacher would like pull up the song in front of like 30 classmates.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and everyone would just like sit there and be like, oh, like obviously they're trying to get a reaction. But anyway, so that kind of early on, like, calling my mom, crying, be like, hey, can you please pick me up? Like, this is absolutely horrible. That kind of early on really hit my confidence, because I was like, okay, here I am, like, 12, 13, releasing stuff in a public high school. I'm getting, bullied every day for it, including from like teachers.
Yeah.
So
did that develop a form of imposter syndrome within you as well? I mean, did you kind of feel like almost like, actually, am I good enough to do this?
Yeah, totally. And it reflected like everything, because those ages are so like developmental. And so, you never want to have a period of time where you're feeling so, less than. So it really hit. I'm lucky in the sense that like my passion was so strong that there was never a point in time where I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore because of, what others think, which I'm like super grateful for that. But it did really affect like who I was, who I thought I was, and how proud of the stuff that I was doing and how good I thought I was, even to the point where like I would look, so I was in movement rehearsals and just understanding like the arts and all that. Like that's literally what I did and what I still do, like morning, day and night, because that's all I want to do. And I look back at like rehearsal videos from when I was like 13 or 14, and it's like you can just see the like unsure, because I was so scared of what others were gonna think, even if it was like people in my corner, just because I had already been told that constantly. So it really just came down to like me, because no one else could change the way that you think about yourself. And I really had to like pull it together and be like, you know what, yeah, you got to start believing in yourself, and you got to start being confident with who you are, because I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't, especially like in videos or like recordings, like I just wasn't doing that because I was holding myself back.
Yeah. Did you have to get to a point on the outside where you were having to show a confidence level because you needed to make it? You had to show a confidence level that you didn't necessarily have on the inside.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly what created the shift of like now I feel confident and secure, and there's not really, I mean, of course there's always like those butterfly moments, but I'm 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 okay and I'm like confident with like what I'm
Yeah.
doing and
I
all
don't
of
know whether
that.
you saw that on Instagram lately. There was a clip of Chris Martin from Coldplay, and it was when he was really young, and they'd
Mm.
literally, I think that Coldplay were called Starfish at the time. It's just definitely not the right name. Anyway, but they were just about transitioning into Coldplay, and there was a clip of him as a braced teenager, with braces in his mouth, quite spotty, over to the camera, being very confident and going, give it 4 years and Coldplay will be, everybody will know
Oh,
Coldplay. Have you seen this clip?
yes,
Everybody will
yes.
know Coldplay. There would be the big, but they made him watch it on a talk show, but you could visibly see the uncomfortableness of him watching that. And
Oh, wow.
although he was kind of joking about it, you could also see that there's probably some hurt there in a way, because I think a lot of the artists go through that stage
Yeah.
where actually, as he said, part of that was self-belief
Mm.
and that we did believe it, but part of it was being silly, and part of it was, being at a place where, you've got to project that, but deep down inside you don't actually believe that.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot of people questioning that.
Totally. That's
It's hard.
actually
It's hard.
such a good point, and I think it, like, extends even outside of music, just like in daily life. There's so many people that I talk to who are obviously, younger, like, in high school and stuff like that, and I'll just get, like, DMs, whether it's like, "Hey, like, I've had a tough day," or like, "I've, this and this is happening." So it's like you see that kind of, feelings even outside of music, but it's so relatable because you're like, wow, like I remember feeling like that. And then you just get to a point where it's like, you have to act confident, whether because, I personally I love seeing confident people because it makes me, it makes you like 10 times more drawn like into their life. And I think when you keep doing that for a certain amount of time, you kind of just start, it's almost like you like manifest it, but you kind of just start believing that like you are that person.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it gets easier.
Yeah. People come on here and they go, "Oh, I really enjoyed your energy. Really enjoyed it. You're so confident. You're so," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I didn't start that way."
Yeah. Yes.
When I was a kid at school, my school reports used to say, and this is no word of a lie, they used to say, "Wish you'd speak up in class. Wish you'd be, wish
Wow.
you'd take part in the conversation. Wish you." And now I spend my whole life talking. You know,
That's like, it's such a full circle moment. But it's cool because you have like, from that point where somebody's telling you, "Oh, I wish like you would speak up," now to like what you're doing, it's such like it almost makes it like 10 times more meaningful. Because you have that progression of like, okay, this is where I started, this is what people used to say to me, and now you're here.
and also I think you pick up others, or you have skills which actually make you better at doing what you do,
Yeah.
which people don't, that perhaps start off in a different place, don't
Mm.
necessarily have. And one of the things is that if you're going to talk to people and have conversations like this, actually you need to go through that period in your life where you just observe,
Wow, very true.
right? And
Yep.
you're just an observer and a listener, and you just pick up on people, and you get that emotional empathy and connection with people before you learn to start to speak. And that's important, because there are a lot of people out there, and you will have, I mean, I'm not dissing anyone, but you will have done interviews before now where you've sat there and you're talking to someone and you think they're not listening at all to what I
Mm.
say. They're not actually, you know, it's literally coming from them, and they've got their agenda, and they're asking me this question, but they're not really listening to what I say back. It's not a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, them as a dialogue. And that's you know, and that's rubbish.
Totally. I completely agree.
You know, and when I first started this, Peyton, one of the things I said is I am never, ever, ever. I said that I want to make a podcast where I interview musicians with respect, and I never want to ask a question like, "What's your favourite biscuit?" Because why do people do that?
I know there is like a lot of questions like that, but I do.
What's your favourite stuffed animal? I don't care. You know, what's that got to do with the music? What's that got to do with what I'm trying to say into the world at this moment?
That is so funny. Yeah, I do really value though. Like the conversation podcast or conversation like interviews, even on like both ends, like even like from my end or like your end, it just, and like an audience like perspective, it just makes it so much more personable and like comfortable when you're not putting on like a fake show, like when you're actually to have like a conversation.
Absolutely. You said you know, that you struggled through all of that, and you had to build your confidence. In terms of, we live in social media land now. You're navigating. I can see you're navigating social media really well for yourself. Do you feel quite protective, or not motherly, because that's the wrong word, but do you feel quite protective when you like see people who are fans of yours starting out with music or whatever, and actually maybe struggling with their own identity and developing their identity on social media? Do you feel quite protective over that, or you know, like want to step in and give them advice and help?
Totally. I love my people. I'm like, I get so protective over my people, just because some of them like have literally been there since I was 16 or since I was 15, and vice versa. So like nothing means more to me than having like an authentic like connection, because they literally truly do become like your best friends, and I hope I'm their best friends, but I like to say that I am. And yeah, so anytime, I remember one time I toured in the UK, so I spent like 4 weeks there, and there was one student who was also like into music, and I remember we always stayed in touch just because he was so cool. He was so passionate about music. He was so welcoming and like warm to me. And I remember one time I got this DM from him, which was like kind of out of the ordinary, and he was just like, "Hey, like I'm wanting to do this music program at my school, but like I don't know if I'm going to continue, because every time, I go in or whatever it is, I'm getting just like so much hate, or I'm getting so much negative stuff from like his peers, and that really affected him." So to see a 16-year-old, 15, 16-year-old boy who, had such a passion for music and was thinking about quitting because, around him, that was really, really hard to see. Because you never want somebody who's so passionate about something to not like continue that, or to not like continue their purpose in life, because of people around them.
Do you ever get scared, because you're on the cusp, right, of big things? I'd say, you're at a level in your career now where this can only go one way, right? You either stop doing this properly, or you push it, and you become a arena artist, a stadium artist, whatever. Yeah, you try and get to that level, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever worry that close connection and everything else will get taken away from you, not because you want it to be taken away from you, but because people around you, record companies, PR execs, whatever, are going to go, actually, we're dealing with that now, and actually you're not, we're going to control who you speak to, because I think a lot of artists these days want to be close to their close to their fan base, and they really want to. That's what they built their reputation on. And I think gone are the days of like this separation between the artist and the fans, where it's like everyone gets put on the pedestal. I think people really want that, but I think it's one of the things that some artists really struggle with, and mental health wise struggle with. I think people like Lewis Capaldi's struggled with it, is that suddenly the record label, the people around you start to make decisions and try and take you away from those people that have built you up, have loved you, you've had that connection with. And what I love to see is when musicians break that down.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm going to reference. Do you know Fred Again?
Yes.
Yes. There was a great video that Fred. It wasn't his Instagram. It was some youngster's Instagram where he said, "Oh, Fred Again giving me feedback on my song," and he passed his way backstage. And he went up to Fred Again and said, "Will you listen to my song?" And all of the security pounded on this poor lad with his guitar and were like, "No, get away." Fred Again was like, hey, hang on. Let him play.
And those are the best moments.
Oh, aren't they?
Yes. I've seen like a video of like Taylor Swift doing that. There's so many. It's funny because with social media, you can see, obviously, like you can see everything gets around. But it's so amazing to see artists who are at that level of success, who are still like so passionate and loving, and their fans and their supporters always like come, number one, no matter, the level of success that they get at, which I always think is like, a telltale as to see like how humble somebody truly is. Because if you remember like, where you started and these people who really helped build you up to where you are now, without them, there is no your world. So I think it's always so like endearing and humbling, and it's always just my favorite. Plus it like makes you love the artist 10 times more when you're like, all right, you're saying bye to the security, letting him come up to show you the song. Like that's so cool.
Yep. And I get knockbacks. I get knockbacks all the time from management and PR. And you know what? Sometimes I love it when an artist goes, "I don't care what my manager says, or I don't care what the PR says. I'm still going to do an interview with you because I like what you do." And that's what I love. I had a bit of a rant about it earlier on TikTok because I had another one earlier where, but it's daft. It is absolutely daft. You're not the gatekeepers of these people. You're not. If the artist has said, "I don't want to do it. I need to protect myself here," and and you've had it, because I think everything comes down to communication. If you've had a conversation about your boundaries and what you need your boundaries to be at this time to protect you or to help you, and you want to set boundaries, that's fine. But if you want to speak to somebody, that's up to you. If you want to, because you're a human being at the end of the day. Nobody's out there on the pedestal. Exactly. You've written songs that are really quite personal and covered some quite emotional subjects. Has that been, especially in your more recent years, have you found with that audience that you've got, have you found that you've been able to work through some of those things through those songs and with the audience?
Yeah, that's actually, absolutely. Because I think just stemming from, the confidence stuff and everything, it was funny because an artist I feel like is very emotional and very, they express their feelings in obviously a way of music and all of that. And I feel like that's, part of being an artist is relating and, not being afraid to like speak about things and helping others and all of that stuff. But I felt like I became really reserved because I am like an extroverted person, but I'm a little bit of both. Like I'm definitely
You're an
introverted.
ambivert.
Exactly. That's like the middle one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly what I am. And so basically I felt I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of felt a little reserved with my writing because it's such a vulnerable spot. And just in recent years have I been like, all right, in order for me to heal or in order for me to, not feel alone and understand that people go through the same thing, like it would be unfair to myself and it would be unfair for the people who stream my music to stay in this like sheltered, confined spot again out of, reluctancy or whatever it was. So I really made it a point in the past 4 years to be an artist and to like not be okay with like limiting the boundaries of what I used to feel comfortable writing with. And that really it's helped me both in the sense of like I even feel more connected to my audience. I feel, more connected to myself. I understand myself better. But I also like understand my writing better, which has been like a cool like progression to see.
Wow. Do you know what? I think what you've just said is incredibly profound, and actually, I think will help a lot of young artists coming up. To hear that actually, you've drawn yourself out because of respect of your audience. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of
Good
the
on
day,
you.
my main goal is to, of course, always make them happy, always make myself happy. But I truly believe that artistry is, opening up in some ways. Some ways people are more creative, but it's just like a disservice to yourself and to others when, you're kind of in your own head being like, oh no, I don't know if I should write about that, or what if somebody else like hasn't gone through that. You kind of just gotta like write about what you go through, write about, what others go through. And yeah.
And one of the things that artists have always done is show the rest of us a version of the world that we can't really talk about.
Very true. Very, very true. Yeah, because I definitely feel like some things, in day-to-day life, it's not a societal norm to go about and, talk about it. But through like music, it's incredible what you can hear and what you can connect and feel with.
I love the video of you and it is your sister, yeah, in the car.
Yes, that's my sister. She's so funny. I love her. I dragged her out. I was like, Morgan, I gotta show you something. She's like, really, Peyton? I was like, yes. Yeah, her name's Morgan. She's best friend. I love her.
I love the spirit. I mean, it's obviously that kind of framing is something that's become very popular on.
Yes.
Lots of people have used it, where you play you play your song to somebody and then they react to it. But to do it with your sister with that as a lyric.
Yeah, the whole point of Bad and the Bad Boys is one of like my favorite songs because it's just, on the surface level, it's fun. It's almost like really like badder than the Bad Boys. It's just, I don't know. It comes across like not serious, but actually the song is super, like it has a deeper, deeper meaning and deeper roots than that. And my sister has always been like, of course, like my number one supporter. And it's funny because anything like that goes on around me, I'm always so susceptible to. Like I love writing about, even if it's not like myself personally, because I feel like I feel really deeply. So if somebody's like going through something around me, I kind of take on that same emotions and stuff.
Well, if anyone hasn't heard that song yet, I don't know rock they've been living under, but that it's an absolute banger. It's classic.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else out there at the moment that that's like a contemporary of yours, a peer of yours at the moment, that has been doing the old reveal in the car bit that you think has done it really well?
There's so many.
What's your favorite one of all time?
I'm trying to think.
Have you seen the new Katie Basil one?
No.
Have you not?
No.
You must do. You must do that.
I think what really kickstarted that is like all the James Corden. I believe that's it. Yeah, his like it's carpool karaoke, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Those.
Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite ever on that?
I loved the Justin Bieber one.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Well, I love Justin Bieber. Okay, but
I thought the Harry Styles one was good as well.
Yes, they're all just like so. Funny. They're so funny. They're so funny.
They really are. They absolutely are. I think, and actually, I think Chris Martin did one with him, and he kept chucking Chris out of the car as well. I think it was brilliant. You know, that they've all been absolutely brilliant.
Love it.
The Katie Basil one is she's singing a song about maybe having two blokes at once.
I've got to see that. I've not seen it. That is hilarious.
And actually, I think the funniest one is when she's got two guys in the car that she says that she likes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm literally looking that up right after this. That is hilarious.
Yeah, very, very good. Peyton, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Just in case anybody is watching this or listening to this over the next few days who's never heard of your music before, you know, stranger things have happened. Where is the best place for people to connect with you, get in touch with you, you know, find your music, etc.? And what is it that you would like people to do to help you as an artist?
You can find my music on all streaming platforms. It's just Peyton Shay. And all social media platforms. I have new music coming out September, which I'm super excited about. And
she's just doing that in time for my birthday.
Oh, perfect.
I'm just saying, yeah, we timed it for my birthday. Yeah.
Intentionally did that. Intentionally timed it. But yeah, and that's where you can find me. It's just Peyton Shay. Please do go and check out Peyton. Her music's fantastic. Do get into her. If you've enjoyed Peyton talking today, and if you enjoy her music, do let her know, because that's the thing that artists love most, is if you actually comment back and tell them that you like it. Don't just listen to it on the box in the corner and then go, oh yeah, I like that. Tell the artist, you know, because they spend a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat, tears, money making all of this music, and they really appreciate it when you actually give them some feedback and tell them how it's wonderful and it's changed your life and all of that sort of thing. If you've enjoyed this today, it's been My Music with Graham Cofe. Do share this with your friends and subscribe if you can be bothered to do that. And if you haven't enjoyed this today, then this video has actually been an instructional video on how to do dinging in the background whilst making a video. Until next time. Yeah, my fault. No, not at all. It's absolutely fine. Until next time. Thank you for having me. This has been so fun. Thank you so much to our guest today, Peyton Shay. Please, guys, remember, music doesn't grow on trees. You need to support artists. You need to put some money in the coffers. Please do that. Even if you can just buy a T-shirt, that helps. Until next time. Bye for now. Bye. Thank you.